Haribo. Haribo. Okay, I think now it's working. Hare Krishna. Haribo. Jai Sri Gurudeva ki jai. So sorry. So sorry. It was the OBS program here and the audio setting that suddenly disappeared, and I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry for all this time. Let's jump straight in the book. I'm sorry. So let me just share the link. 1 second. Shri Guru Gauranga Dharka Giridhari Shri Radharaman Bihari Ji ki jai. Jai Jagannath Ratha Yatra ki jai. Shri Hera Panchami ki jai. Om Ganati Mirandasya Gana Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Miltam Jana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratashe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So first of all, my obeisance to Srila Gurudeva, Om Vishnupad Paramahans Previjakacharya Stotra Shat Srimad Bhaktivedanta, Srila Vana Goswami Maharaja, Param Gurudeva Nitile Pravistam Vishnupada Stotra Shat, Srila Bhaktivedanta, Srila Narayana Goswami Maharaja, Srila Bhaktivedanta, Srila Vamana Goswami Maharaja, so Srila Rupanda Guru Varga, Srila Sad Goswami Prabhu, Sanatana Goswami Pad Ki Jai, author of Sri Bihad Bhagavatamrita, Param Gurudeva. My obeisance to all of you. Dandavat Pranam. So today is very super excellent auspicious day. Today is Hera Panchami. So Gurudeva will speak more about it in his Harikatha that you can hear of Vana Madhuryam in Brazil. He's in Brazil now. Hera means to search. Panchami, 5 days from Ratha Yatra. So today Lakshmi Devi is searching for Jagannath because Jagannath didn't tell her if he arrived well or not. Where did he go? He didn't give any details. He just said, I'm going for fresh air. But didn't say if he arrived well or not, so Lakshmi Devi gets so worried. And the main thing that the Mahaprabhu arises, the question is, why did Jagannath not take Lakshmi Devi along to go to Vrindavan? So there was a beautiful pastime that happened when Mahaprabhu was in this world. There was a Leela presented by the devotees, like a pastime, like a play, a drama, and in which Swarupa Damodara and Srivas Thakur, because of that Leela, that play, they started having a lot of discussion about Tata Siddhanta. Swarupa Damodara was in the side of the Gopis, and Srivas Thakur in the side of Lakshmi Devi. Means they're actually debating, but actually explaining more and more about how Ashwara Dham, Ashwara opulence mood, can never mix with Madhurya mood, the sweetness mood. So because that's called Rasa Abhas. So we are reading about it today, so we can hear more about it in Gurudev's class. So we'll also, I'd like to tell you that we'll start also this week on Wednesday evening. We'll read Bhakti Tata Vivek. So before I was reading Prema Sampurna in Portuguese, and I finished that book, and then Gurudev said to now do English instead of Portuguese. So I will have one more day of the week, which is Wednesday. We'll start reading one book. Gurudeva said which book? Bhakti Tata Vivek. So soon I'll also send message in the internet. Then those who want to also join that study can come Wednesday. Probably will be the same time as today, but actually I'll try to move the class 1 hour ahead. So instead of starting at 8 p.m. my time, it will be 7 p.m. I'll try. So it'll be 1 hour earlier for everyone. doesn't matter the time zone, just 1 hour earlier, Mondays and Wednesdays. But if not possible, then just will be the same time as now. So the book Bhakti Tata Viveka, it's a book about written by Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, that describes all the philosophy of Bhakti Siddhanta, which is so important. So in the Bhakti Rasayana, we are reading Bhakti Rasayana. And we stopped. Who remembers what we're reading about? So we read about the clouds serving Krishna. Then we went ahead. Also, we read about the trees. So we stopped in the chapter that was a verse not from Venugit, from the Sound of the Flute, Song of the Flute, but from Yugala Gita, remember? Which is chapter 35, 10th canto, which is one of the verses also Gurudeva always quotes, which is actually very similar mood as the Venugit, this verse here. So those who have the book, the verse was on page 44. The verse is this one. Vanalatas tarava atmani vishnu vyanjayantya iva pushpa faladha pranata bhara vitapa madhudhara prema hrishta tanavo vavrishusma. So we stopped here. Happiness in separation. We started chapter 5, happiness in separation. We read about Alalnat, because in the chapter 5, Parang Gurudev continues speaking about the same verse, about how the trees of Vrindavan are serving Krishna. So here Parang Gurudev says, there are two ways of offering pranam to someone. Someone who has very little faith will will apathetically offer pranam with his hands only one time and then leave. But someone who has a lot of faith, strong faith, will bow down and offer pranam time and again with great love and humility. He will look towards his master with great love and humility. With great affection, desire his blessing. The trees offer pranam to Krishna in this way, with great prem. Krishna came, they offered pranam, and even after Krishna left, they remained bowing down because there was so much prema in their hearts. So, actually, we already read this page. Here then, I think we stopped here, page 52. So Parang Gurudev is saying that these topics are very, very high, right? But by hearing again and again, by reading again and again, we can, maybe a little bit of this mood will stay in our hearts. So Parang Gurudev gave an example. Like a coating of wax. If you're placing candles here and there, then a little wax come off on your hand and creates a coating. Similarly, if a sadhaka reads, hears and speaks about these topics, then certainly something will rub off. A little feeling of bhava will come. Then practicing sadhana more and more, after some time this feeling will become so strong that will never be interrupted. Here the gopis are mutually hearing and describing Krishna's pastimes. And as a remembrance comes, they are seeing Krishna with the eyes of bhav. It appears that they are suffering due to separation, but inside them is great happiness. Evam brajastriyo rajam Krishna lilanu gatyati remire ahashu tachittas tanmanaska mahodaya. O king, so this is also chapter 35 here. O king, during the daytime, the ladies of Raj took pleasure in continuously singing about the pastimes of Krishna, and their hearts were fully absorbed in him. The ladies of Raj had offered their hearts to Krishna. We see in the Gopi Gita, chapter 31st of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and in the Venu Gita, that the gopis are absorbed in spiritual ecstasy. Even in separation from him, they remain happy, by meditating on his pastimes. Yet, in another place, it is written that being very unhappy, they passed the day singing about his pastimes. So, in one place, it says that they are very happy because they are meditating on his pastimes, even though they are in separation. But in another place, we see that the gopis are unhappy because they passed the day singing about his pastimes. But one conclusion is they took shelter of one thing. What was it? They took shelter of singing about Krishna's pastimes. Otherwise, they would have been unable to pass the day. So, are the gopis happy as they sing about his pastimes or unhappy? Parang Gurudeva says, it is harmonized in this way. If we see a person really crying and wailing in separation from Krishna, just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, what feelings will arise within us? Will we think that I never want to be like this? Rather, we will think that even if a small fraction of that bhava enters us, our lives will be completely successful. As peculiar as it seems, we actually desire to cry in this way. The verses in the Bhagavatam describing the crying of the gopis will be those most read by a Rasik devotee. In the Brahmar Gita, chapter 47 of the 10th canto, the gopis are in Vipralambha Bhav. And speaking to a bumblebee, they are expressing their suffering. It is a very sad thing, but devotees enjoy it so much. The Venu Gita, Gopi Gita, Yugala Gita, and other chapters in the Bhagavatam all focus entirely on the topic of separation from Krishna. Devotees find all of this tasteful even though they are crying. They like crying also. Therefore, here happiness is included within crying. And the gopis are described in this verse as Mahodaya, experiencing a grand festival. Singing about Krishna's pastimes during the day, they were supremely happy. Meeting Krishna at night, they were fully gratified, and in meditation during the day, their minds raced after him as he wandered in the forest. This is the meaning of bhajan. If a devotee is absorbed in meditation on Krishna Lila, then that meditation is bhajan. How will I meet Krishna? So many lives have passed and still I have not found him. Although externally that prema appears to be unhappiness, inside their meditation is immeasurable happiness. When Krishna leaves Vrindavan and goes to Mathura or Dwarka, and at Nandagram or Uddhavikari the gopis are crying in sadness, why won't they abandon their meditation on Krishna? Are they able to abandon it? Suryadas has written that the gopis placed Krishna's foot dust all over their saris and their limbs. And when the tears related to Krishna fell from their eyes and mixed with that, they became very dirty. But would any of them change their saris? So this meditation is actually full of happiness. But yes, externally it seems to be unhappiness. It is written in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that the happiness felt by one person meeting Krishna exceeds the happiness felt by the residents of millions of material universe combined. And the unhappiness felt by the residents of Vrindavan exceeds the pain caused by the most potent poison. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura have written in their commentaries that in the state of separation, happiness and unhappiness are the same. At the end of his explanation of this verse, Sanatana Goswami says that in this way, Krishna is the very embodiment of the topmost ecstasy, Parama Ananda. He is the very embodiment of ras, transcendental taste. He is the possessor of all potencies. He is all-pervading. He knows the minds and hearts of all. And he is the foundation of all rasa. He is both the rasa itself and the taster of ras. He performs pastimes that establish him as the very embodiment of Paramananda. There's no difference between Krishna and his pastimes. Just there's no difference between Krishna and his name. Being merciful, when Krishna Lila sees that there is a bhav in our hearts, then it will appear to us. By thousands of our own efforts, it will not appear. But when it is merciful to us, at that moment, it will appear of its own accord. Just as Krishna is supremely independent, his Lila is also supremely independent, his pastimes. His pastimes will know if a recipient is qualified or not. If it sees that one's prayer is full of humility, then no matter what one's qualification may be, it will appear. It may appear in the hearts of qualified people like the four Kumaras, or in someone with a sinful background like Bilamangal. Leela pastimes manifested in his heart, and Krishna himself came to help him walk him to Vraj and to listen his sweet singing. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami is saying that just as Krishna is the very embodiment of the supreme spiritual ecstasy, so are his pastimes. So if one is simply hearing narrations of Krishna Lila, then for him there is no necessity of practicing renunciation or anything of the kind. So before continuing, let's just let that sink in, whatever Param Gurudeva said here. So he said, he's saying, first of all, he's saying something that we already, we were reading about this last class, about how prema is actually happiness and unhappiness together. But it's not something of this world, like the happiness and unhappiness we know here. Of course not. It's a transcendental thing. And it's very hard to understand. So sometimes Gurudeva says, no, it's prema. Happiness or unhappiness? Poison or nectar? It's very hard to give conclusion. Very hard to come to a conclusion about this. Is it hot or cold? Like hot coming from separation from the unhappiness, and the cold or coolness coming from the happiness or nectar. So there's a Chaitanya Charitamrita pair, like a Chaitanya Charitamrita verse, which says, Ika dando jala hoiche, no, Ika dando jal joiche charana na jai. Means if you take, the example is given, if you take a piece of sugar cane, okay, sugar cane is very sweet, whoever has tasted sugar cane, but that sugar cane, imagine that, like sugar cane, like not the juice, like you still have the cane and you're sucking it, but if that first is put in the fire and then you suck it, it will be very hot, right? When you suck like this, the sugar cane, the juice will come to your mouth, but it's going to be really hot because you have put it in the fire. So it will probably burn your mouth. But it's so good. But it's so good, and you cannot stop drinking that. So it's so good, and you cannot stop drinking it. Are you hearing my voice echo? I think, please let me know if you can hear my voice echo. Otherwise, there's going to be, I don't know. It seems like yes. Haribo. Anyway, so when you suck the sugar cane, it's so good, but it's hot. So it's burning your tongue, but it's so good you cannot stop sucking it. So in the same way, okay, thank you, no echo, okay. So this is one example given, like this happiness and unhappiness together. Like it is so good you cannot stop. It's at the same time both. It's like inconceivable. Like here Param Gurudeva said that Sanatana Goswami said that, he said, Sanatana Goswami says that in this state of separation, happiness and unhappiness are the same. Also for us, which are here in this material world, everything is like duality, right? Good, evil, bad, good, happiness and happiness. But in the spiritual world is the place of the transcendental reality. Everyone there is in Ananda, right? They're full of bliss. So it's a completely different thing. And it's because prema is composed of love means milan, and viraha means meeting and separation. And they can happen at the same time. So it's just like something which is so complementary to each other. Like without the separation, the prema would not be increased. So it's just like the two sides of the same thing. And in the separation, the devotee feels unhappiness, but the happiness in the meeting is increased because of that separation. Another example given is also the example of the how is the pleasure in suffering in the prem, right? So Gurudev sometimes give example of one person who was giving Harikatha about Ram, Lila. You know, the pastimes of Lord Ram. They are very, Gurudev says the word pathetic, right? Which means, I don't know if, I think in Portuguese this word has many meanings, but one of the meanings is like very moving, very, it touches the heart so much, right? It's moving. So when you hear those pastimes of Ram, right, how everything happened in his life, especially also about Sita Devi having to raise the kids, you know, his two sons in the forest and all that. You cry so much, right? When you see, like, example, how Sita Devi, she was living in the forest, raising love and Kush on her own. And Ramchandra, he was in the kingdom and he was living on the floor, sleeping on the floor with the same austerities as Sita Devi in the forest, because the king had given up the queen, but Ram would never give up Sita. It's like this beautiful love they have, so beautiful. So if you hear this, you cry. And especially like how Sita Devi came late and she had to prove one more time that she was actually, those kids were Lord Ram's kids. So it's so moving. And you hear that. And so that person who was giving Harikatha, he was giving Harikatha about this. And the whole assembly hearing that Harikatha, everyone who was there, they cried and cried and cried. But on this next day, he was going to again give the same kata, the same story he would speak about. And everybody came again back because they wanted to hear that again. And so you can ask, oh, if it's so bad, feel separation or feel unhappiness because of this. I mean, this is a comparison, right? It's so the people are crying here in the Harikatha, means they are like suffering because they are relating to that kata and they're suffering. And then why would they come back? Because actually they like that suffering, that crying. You relish also that. I think for a materialistic person, for example, for me, I relate to that, and maybe other people can also understand. Example, drama movies, right? Drama movies. Those who like to watch movies, for example, and you have a drama movie, and then people watch drama movies and they cry, but they want to watch again, like they like it and they recommend they want to watch one more time, or you'd still want to continue watching drama movies even though you're crying with the movies because you like to feel like that actually. So it's just an example saying that yes, there is happiness also in the suffering sometimes. And but the main thing Parangurudev is saying is that where do they take shelter of Harikatha? So Harikatha is the life of the devotee, not only when we, like now for us, Harikatha is our life, because only Harikatha given by Gurudeva or a pure devotee has the power to really clean our heart and establish these impressions, strong impressions in our heart that will make us progress in the spiritual life. So Harikatha will give the impressions and also will clean our hearts. Only Harikatha can do that, because even if we chant Hare Krishna, we are chanting so much offense namaparad, so it's not that powerful as hearing Harikatha from Gurudeva or from pure Vaishnava. So in the sadhaka stage, Harikatha is the main thing, right? Like it's like the most important practice. Of course, everything is important. You also have to chant, fix round, have to do seva, everything. You cannot neglect anything. But Harikatha is like the most nuclear bomb of all, you know? To meet the sadhu and to hear Harikatha directly from his lotus mouth. But in the spiritual world, even after we attain also self-realization, you see the gopis, how they're surviving because of Harikatha. So that's why that verse is so important. Parangurudev recited again and again that verse. This verse, they even put in the Shlokamrita book in the behind. Tava katamritam tapta jivanam kabibiritam kalmashapaham shravana mangalam Srimadatam bhuvigrinanti ye bhurida jana. This verse describes the glory of Harikatha. That Harikatha is the life and soul of those who feel separation from Krishna. And the great personalities like Brahma, Shiva, four Kumaras, all the Vaishnavas, they are praising Harikatha. They are always speaking Harikatha. The narrations of Harikatha, Harikatha destroys all the sins. They give all auspiciousness, and especially the wealth of Prem. The nectar of your narrations is expanded by those who glorify your pastimes. And therefore, such narrators, those who glorify Krishna's pastimes, they are Buridajana, right? Meaning, they are the most generous people in the whole world. The most generous persons. So, here Param Gurudeva is saying that these moments when the gopis, they are actually speaking to each other about Krishna's pastimes. And they are, if we hear about how they are actually feeling all these feelings, will we want to also have that or not? We should want. Oh, I also want. But maybe some materialistic person will say, oh, this is suffering. I don't want that. Then Param Gurudeva also says that actually when the gopis, because when they are speaking Harikatha, they are speaking about Krishna, they are directly meeting with Krishna. So what is the meaning of, that's why we're discussing meeting and separation, separation and meeting. When the gopis are not physically with Krishna, they speak about him. And when they speak about him, they become absorbed in him completely. So their minds absorbed in him, they are meeting with him really. He really comes there. And whereas, for example, in other situations, they are physically with Krishna externally, but maybe their mind will not be there. They'll think about something else. That's why Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Vipralamba, means separation mood, dances on the head of the meeting. Because when you meet with Krishna, Milan, right, physically, maybe your mind is there, maybe not. But when in the viraha, in the separation moment, your mind like completely absorbed in him, completely. So it's actually, you're meeting with him. Of course, they're all transcendental, right? The mind, the meditation, everything is transcendental. And Krishna really appears. So there's many, many parts where Krishna says to the gopis, oh, when you thought I was there, you saw my footprints, you thought I was there. Like you thought I was not there, but I was actually there, Krishna says. But you are actually so absorbed in me, you couldn't even see me. But you're thinking about me so much. So, now, in the end here, Param Gurudeva said something very, very special about the pastimes of Krishna. Saying that if we are humble in our prayers, even though we don't have qualification, Krishna's lila, his pastimes, may appear to us. But he said that our own efforts will not bring us this. We have to, the lila herself, means the pastimes of Krishna have to be merciful to us. So this is something very, very special, which is Lord, the Supreme Lord, he's always performing pastimes. And within these pastimes, he's actually relishing Prem, this divine love and happiness, like Premananda, and making his devotees also relish this rasa. So raso vaisaha. This is a verse from the Vedas, which means God, is made of ras. So ras, many people, it's hard to understand or to explain even the mellows. What is the meaning of mellows? We translate this mellows, right? What is the meaning of ras? This transcendental taste of relationships with God. The real relationship is with God, right? So the taste of this relationship, these different tastes. God is the embodiment of this divine pleasure and taste of these relationships. So he's made of happiness, mellows. And they happen through these pastimes. By making these different pastimes, that's how this prema and this rasa is relished. And when the devotees, they have a pure heart, what happens? The devotee's heart becomes like a television. So sometimes Gurudev gives the comparison as a television. Just like there's many channels, like nowadays we do streaming is different, but like before, the many channels, like always something on. So in the same way, all these pastimes of Krishna will start manifesting in the heart of the devotee. And the devotee will be able to see all those pastimes. So, and then here Param Gurudeva is explaining the importance of Harikatha. If one is simply hearing narrations of Krishna Lila, then for him there's no necessity of practicing renunciation or anything of the kind. So now Param Gurudeva quotes a verse here, which is the verse. This verse, it's quoted also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Rai Ramananda was asking, Mahaprabhu was asking, what is the goal of life? And then Rai Ramananda was giving many answers. Then finally, and Mahaprabhu was saying, okay, but this is external, okay, but this is external. But when Rai Ramananda said this verse here, Mahaprabhu said, yes, that's it. Tell me more. So what does this verse say? Jnana prayasamudapasyanamanta eva jivanti samukaritam bhavadiyavartam sanestita shrutigatam tanuvam manobhir je prayaso ajito ajito api asitais trilokyam. So this verse is very important. It's a very good verse for us to study. This verse says that we should stanestita, stay in whatever position in your life you are. Are you married? You have children? You are retired? You are like brahmachari? Don't change your life position, like your stage of life. Just sit in front of sadhu and hear Harikatha. Give up the knowledge, the endeavor for knowledge. If you do that, if you just listen to Harikatha from the pure saint, from the pure sadhu, what will happen? And of course, dedicating mind, body, words to God, to Guru and Krishna, that Lord which is unconquerable will be conquered by you. So like we were discussing before, Harikatha is the topmost spiritual practice you can do. It's like, of course, we have to do everything, but Harikatha is the more important. I remember one day, sometimes in Brazil, Gurudeva chastises the devotee so much, especially in Brazil, Gurudeva gives Harikatha so many times. Those who've been to Brazil and those who have seen the live streams, he gives a lot of Harikatha, like many times a day, like 3 times a day, and also sometimes 4 times a day, like in the morning walk, and then he comes back to the temple, then sitting down in the temple, then lunchtime, and then evening. But sometimes like devotees go here and there, maybe like when Gurudev sits down, many people are cooking or something like that. And then Gurudev always comes. When he sits down for Harikatha, Gurudev says, come everyone. Now no cooking anymore. Stop cooking, stop everything, come and listen to Harikatha. And then one day there was one, I remember one, there are many examples, but one day specifically, one devotee, brahmachari, he was a brahmachari, I won't mention the name. So he's a very good cake maker. He bakes delicious cakes. So it was the birthday of another devotee who is a kirtaniya, very nice, but grihasta, kirtaniya. And then this devotee who is a brahmachari and bakes many nice cakes, he spent the whole Harikatha baking the cake because it was the devotee's birthday, the other devotee's birthday. So he had to make big cake to feed like 200 devotees, whatever. So he was busy. And wow, but then in the end of Harikatha, Gurudev called this, who is a brahmachari but was making cake. Why you are not here in the Harikatha? I was making the cake for that other devotee and for everyone, like 200 devotees, food, right? And then, or 150 devotees. And then, but Gurudev, I just remember how he chastised him so much, saying that only Harikatha can protect you. My Gurudev says like that. Only Harikatha can save you from Maya. He always says like this. Only Harikatha. Only Harikatha can protect you. And then he says, if you don't listen to Harikatha, very quickly you'll go away. Like you'll go back to Maya. So we don't give that importance. Sometimes we don't understand what his words. But what the meaning is that Harikatha is transcendental. It's like an atomic bomb. We are not seeing sometimes. We cannot see. Generally we cannot see that with our eyes. But the Harikatha is actually so powerful. And through our ears, he's coming. It's actually Harikatha is God himself. Srinatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. It's Krishna himself. So where does God reside? Hari Kothai. Where is Hari? Where does God stay? In Bengali they say Kothai. Kothai go prema mai radhe radhe. Oh, where is God? Hari Kothai, Harikatha. God is in his Harikatha. So this is very beautiful. Means whenever a pure devotee is glorifying God, God himself comes in that message, in that sound vibration, which is now called Shabda Brahma, transcendental sound, not anymore Shabda Samana, material sound. And then that vibration comes in our ears, goes through the heart, to the chitta, means heart means chitta, right? Where all the impressions are from billions, innumerable lives that we're in this material world. All our samskaras, bad samskaras, everything there in the ego. So chitta is where all the samskaras are, all the impressions, material impressions. But the harikata comes in the heart. Heart means the chitta, right? All the samskaras are. And destroys everything. So one harikata is more, like even a moment of harikata you hear is more powerful than millions of atomic bombs. If you think about the power of a one atomic bomb, even we are afraid, right? Thinking about an atomic bomb, like, I don't know how many, 500 kilometers are completely destroyed by an atomic bomb, maybe radius. But one harikata is capable, more powerful than an atomic bomb. It's Krishna himself. So I think I lost the subject. But why I'm saying this? Yeah, because that day my Gurudeva told you that devotee, only Harikatha can protect you. Doesn't matter the cake. You make cake up before Harikatha. Before Harikatha, you can make the cake. You can make everything. But the Harikatha come, you have to sit down in the Harikatha. Otherwise, you go back to Maya. So if we don't hear Harikatha, what happens? Very quickly, we will get attracted to Maya again, or because of some problem or some, I don't know, some quarreling with other devotees or any reason, we'll just give up Krishna consciousness. But by hearing Harikatha, even though we might not understand what's being said, even though we feel sleepy, even though our mind is agitated through Harikatha, we have to sit down. And of course, try again and again to bring our mind to the Harikatha, to learn Harikatha. Because actually, if you pay attention to Harikatha, that's working so much. Even if you don't pay attention, it's also working. But the best thing is if you are concentrated. And then what happens? That will give that impression in your heart. Very, very strong impression. That it's very, very powerful. So powerful. So, Parang Gurudeva is saying, Bhagavan, God, is unconquerable by anyone within this world. Yet, if someone faithfully hears Harikatha, even while remaining within his established social position, then the disease of lust and all impediments to spiritual advancement, anarthas, will vanish from his heart, and he will overpower that unconquerable Bhagavan. Such is the potency of Lila Katha. But since this Lila Katha is the very embodiment of the topmost spiritual ecstasy, Paramananda, then what necessities will the gopis feel to meet Krishna? Good question. Won't the gopis be satisfied just by this? They won't be satisfied. Why? Sanatana Goswami gives his opinion that although Krishna and the narrations of his pastimes are one, the gopis won't be satisfied by just engaging in Lila Katha. Their prema is so such that it can never be restricted in any way, and they will never be fully pleased, fully satisfied, or receive the full taste from only engaging in Lila Katha without meeting Krishna. They desire to enter directly into pastimes where Krishna will express similar sentiments towards them as he did in the Rasa Lila. So yeah, this question may be arised. If Harikatha is so, Krishna himself, if Harikatha gives so much bliss because it's Krishna himself, so, and why the gopis need to meet Krishna directly? Or sometimes devotees also say, if there's so much bliss in separation, because in the separation you're absorbed in Krishna, then why do you need to meet him? Why does it need to be viraha? I mean, Milan meeting? This is a good, interesting question. Gopis, they have the love called Utkantamai Prem, which means very, very eager all the time to meet Krishna. So they will never be satisfied with any other thing except they see Krishna directly in front of their eyes. This applies to the gopis in the even Vatsalya Bhav and like Madhya Jashoda and Madhurya Bhav as well. Parang Gurudev says, Harikatha by itself will not satisfy the gopis, but a sadhaka should always continue hearing narrations of the Lord's pastimes, understanding that the unhappiness which the gopis experienced while engaging in Harikatha was merely a manifestation of their indescribable happiness. It is written that when Lila Katha enters the ears of a sadhaka, it enters his heart, snatches away all inauspiciousness, and makes his heart completely pure. Then it takes him to the place where he can relish a life of serving Radha and Krishna with the Sakas and Sakis. In this way, Krishna and the narration of his pastimes are supremely merciful. Wow. So now Parang Gurudeva will enter the next topic, which is this verse, which I think we can continue next class, but let's at least read the verse. The verse says, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:15.6. Etelinastava kilaloka tirtam gayanta de purushanopatam bhajante prayo ami munigana bhavadya mokha guram vane apina jati anaghatma daivam. Shri Krishna said to Balaram, O Adipurush, although you are keeping your opulences hidden and are performing pastime as a young boy here in Vrindavan, still the sages who are among the best of your devotees have recognized you. Not wanting to be separated from you even for one moment, they have assumed the forms of bees and are worshipping you by constantly singing your glories as the purifier of this world. So this verse, we'll read more about it next Monday at 8 p.m. If I'm able to change the time, I'll let you know if it's going to be 7 p.m., but otherwise 8 p.m. But I see you on Wednesday, hope, to study together Bhakti Tota Viveka starting this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Western Australia Standard Time. And I can also send a message about the link also later on Wednesday. So if anyone would like to ask anything or comment or make any correction, or please write down. Otherwise, may Srila Gurudeva and Srila Guru Guru Varga bless us with the opportunity again and again to hear Hari Katha of their lotus mouth so that we can progress in our spiritual life. Otherwise, it's impossible. Vanchakalpatarubhya kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Krishna Kripa Prabhu, Madhubala Didi, Sudevi Didi, Lalit Mohini Didi. I think I'll create a WhatsApp group just so that I can send updates about links like that. It's going to be easier, I think. I'll let you know. Jai Jai Sri Radhe. Hera Panchami ki Jai. So, Hera Panchami ki Jai.